Just this once.
Zeus put out some degree that nobody's allowed to talk with their children. And so Annabeth, they made her like this wistful... I mean, you see it in other tropes in movies where if a character is motherless, they're kind of masculine, but they pull towards feminine and they want to be feminine. And anytime their mom gets mentioned, they have this wide-eyed, like, oh, yeah, my mom. They give Annabeth that characteristic, and that is not on brand.
Nope.
Yeah, and to make it this, well, their parents want to help them, their parents are in their ears, like, yeah, that's cool, and that does feel somewhat canon of, like, you know, the parents silently giving that certain ones, at least, advice. But the idea that they would be great parents if they were just allowed, which is kind of the feeling you get, that doesn't fit, you know?
I don't mean to sound dramatic, but that's kind of like dangerous thinking. To be like, oh, if I was just allowed to be your dad, I would be like great at it, but I'm just not allowed to, so that's the reason why I am horrible to you. It's not that I'm a horrible dad, it's that I'm just not allowed to be the good dad that I could always be. Like, it reminds me of, honestly, what abusive people say to keep you around them. They say, like, oh, I'm actually a good person. There's just things that are holding me back. And if I can just get over those things, then I'm going to be, like, a good partner or a good dad or a good whoever. But they, like, never actually do those things because they're an abusive fucking bitch. And so, like, that feels like, and it feels dangerous to me in the way that the movie is presenting this as, like, they're not presenting it in a way that, like, you should be upset at the gods for saying that. They're presenting it as, like, this is just factual, like, this is just the truth. Mm-hmm. So you shouldn't be upset at Poseidon for never being there. Or the thing that was so weird about Poseidon was that they had him be there for the first, like, 7 months or whatever arbitrary number they came up with of like Perseus' life, and then he, like, mysteriously had to leave because Zeus made that whole pact. And it's just, like, a dangerous idea to just be like, yeah, this is just how it works and you're not allowed to be upset with me. Because it's like, no, that's not how humans work. That's not how relationships work. None of that is how that works. Like, the whole thing with, like, the gods in the show and in the books is, yeah, Zeus is mad at them and doesn't want them to be around their kids. But why are you listening to him? Yeah. He's Zeus. Who the fuck cares what Zeus wants? Like, yeah, Zeus is going to get mad at you. Okay, you're an immortal god. I'm pretty sure that you could deal with talking to your child every once in a while and being around in your child's life. And you could find ways to deal with your abusive ass, like, sibling or whoever he is to you when it comes to the gods. It's them scapegoating themselves away from responsibility. It's very easy to just be like, oh, Zeus is the reason why I'm not around. And it's like, yeah, but you're an immortal god. If you're not going to stand up to Zeus, then who the fuck is going to do it? And so that's the whole thing with that, is like, that's not a good enough reason.
Yeah.
But movies are like, no, this is just the reason.
Well, I mean, so the lore of Percy Jackson, and I would say the lore in general with Greek mythology, is that there seems to be somewhat limited omniscience. Like, sometimes it seems like the gods know people's thoughts and what they're going to do before they do it. But other times it doesn't. And Percy Jackson leans into that a lot, where, like, they didn't know that Percy wasn't the lightning thief. Mm-hmm. They could have, you know, if they had full omniscience, they could have just been like, oh yeah, the bolt isn't with this kid, it's with that kid. But they don't have that. So if they have limited omniscience, then why would you just not sneak around to talk to your kid if you wanted to talk to them so bad? Because
it's weird that, like, Poseidon was there for all that time at all. And then because his brother told him no, he just, like, disappears into the night. Because I'm like, how bad of a dad are you if you just, like, disappear because your family tells you no? Make them so pathetic. And, like, also just, like, special effects wise, it's very strange how the gods are, like, super tall.
Gigantic, yeah.
And I'm like, this is so weird. How do they, like, there's way too much talk about sex in this movie, or how they have sex. If
with
they're
like, yeah.
if they're that huge, whatever. And then on top of it, it's weird that Poseidon is like moving, like he's like also just.
I actually thought visually that was kind of cool, but
it was like cool, but I was also like, this is so weird because Poseidon is the god of water. He is not water. Like imagine like Hades moving as like a giant like mound of dirt. Or like Zeus being like a giant lightning bolt that just goes or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what they did with Hades, we didn't talk about this part. They turned him into the devil, and this is something that I said in my own like underworld video on my TikTok channel, is that when Christians don't know what else to do with Hades, they will just default to, oh, that's Satan, right? That's like Greek mythology Satan. So we get this weird Hades form where he is a giant like flaming demon thing, and you know, like the underworld. Yeah, it's a little fiery, but, you know, it's mostly like a lake of lava fiery. It's not like everything's on fire fiery.
No, like the whole, like, and the whole thing with like the Greek mythology of the underworld is that there's different, like, levels. Like, there's Elysium, there's the Field of Punishment.
Exactly.
There's like Asphodel, there's like all these different areas. So like, yeah, if you were in the Field of Punishment, it would be like that because you're being punished for the rest of your stupid existence because you're a horrible human being. But it doesn't all look like that. And it's especially one of those things of like that stupid writer of this stupid movie and Christopher Columbus's dumbass, like didn't actually even look up like there's Wikipedia back then. They didn't actually look up Wikipedia even of like Percy Jackson to know that like Hades is not that like Hades in Percy Jackson is like the nicest one of the big three gods that doesn't want to deal with his family's bullshit and tries to stay away from it as much as he can. He still does things that are shitty, obviously. But he is much farther removed from everything else that like Poseidon and Zeus are like little bitches that are constantly fighting with each other over the stupidest shit and causing all of these problems and destruction. He's like, I don't want to deal with these people, so I'm just going to hide here and like live my life with like my wife person who is apparently sex trafficking people with pearls in this